Greetings everyone, and welcome back to a follow-up video on the Game Stick Lite, which I recently took a look at. If you haven't seen that video first, you may want to take a look at that up there before watching this one, because this one is following up on everything that I was asking in that video. How do we install custom firmware on one of these things, the Game Stick Lite? That's $30 Australian. At the moment, purchasing one of these, it is not worth it. For emulation, it is just completely not worth purchasing. But there was a development. There is a way to flash a port of Retroarch on this thing, which makes emulation 10 times better and actually makes this thing worth purchasing. And I think also you would be able to put a USB controller in here, so you'd be able to, hook up an Xbox 360 controller and sit back and play games on your TV. How cool is that? So there will be timestamps in the description as well as a pinned comment. Basically, we're going to be going through a tutorial on how to flash the Game Stick Lite. Fairly easy and straightforward, but I'll show you all. And then also a showcase of the games and the new functionality of this thing. So in order for you to flash custom firmware on your Game Stick Lite, you are going to need a new micro SD card. Now I say a new micro SD card because the default SD card that comes with these is absolutely horrifically slow. So a 16 gigabyte SanDisk is what I've used, but you can use a 32 gig, you can use a 64 gig if you want, whatever micro SD card you've got laying around, but you want at least 16 gigabytes because if you're going to be putting like PlayStation 1 ROMs and stuff like that, you're going to want a decent capacity. I don't have a spare 64 gig one laying around, so I'm going to actually, for the tutorial, switch to a 32 gigabyte one, so then it's a lot more easier. You'll also need a computer running Windows to use a piece of software called Win32 Disk Imager, which I will also link in the description and talk about that very soon. And of course, you will need the file, which is going to be uploaded to the Internet Archive, and I'll link that in the description below. So the requirements for software is basically Win32 Disk Imager and the firmware for flashing, and you also want a card reader as well. Pretty sure most people will have that laying around. I also will make it clear, don't flash the firmware to the original SD card. Keep the original SD card that comes with these things to the side, just in case you ever want to go back to that for some reason, but don't use the SD card that came with them because they're slow anyways. But without further ado, let me show you how to put custom firmware on your Game Stick Lite and make it usable. How does that happen?
Okay, here I am on my laptop now. So before we continue, you'll need to download the Retroarch file from the Internet Archive in the description below and save it to your desktop or wherever is convenient. We will come back to this very soon. Go to your web browser of choice. I'll just use Google Chrome to download Win32 Disk Imager. This is what we need to flash Retroarch to the micro SD card. So go to the SourceForge website, hit download, and download the program. Once this is done, open it up and accept the agreement, click next and select desktop icon if you want to make things easier. Click next a few more times, and at the moment we don't need to open this up, so head back to your desktop or wherever the Retroarch download is located. Make sure you have 7-zip installed to extract the archive. Most people should have it already installed, but WinRare can extract as well, I believe. But just right click on the Retroarch file and go to 7-zip, then extract to Retroarch and just wait for this to finish. Just be patient as it may take a few minutes. Now we have a Retroarch folder, so go into that and you'll find one of two important things in this folder, the gstl5.img file and Disk Genius. We only need the image file at the moment. Now it's time to put in your micro SD card to your PC. As I said, make sure it's fresh and formatted. If it is not, you can open up the command prompt as admin, type in disk part, then go to list disk and select your micro SD card, which for me is disk 3. Select disk 3 and clean. And once it says it's all good, it's now ready to go. Go to your PC and check the drive letter of your micro SD card. Mine is assigned to drive letter F, so I'll keep that in mind. Now you can go ahead and open up Win32 Disk Imager and you'll see your drive letter here over to the right hand side under device. Make sure it matches with your micro SD card, which mine matches up. So click the little blue icon just next to it and navigate to the Retroarch folder and select the GSTL5 image. Next up, just click write and then press OK to overwrite any files. And now sit back and let this copy all the files to the micro SD card. Depending on your card speed, this may take up to about 30 minutes, so just be patient once again. Once it says it's done, you can close Win32 Disk Imager. But don't worry, a whole heap of windows will now appear on screen, so just close each one of these. Some say they need to be formatted, but just don't do anything except close each one of them. There will only be one accessible partition, which is just here, that we'll need to come back to anyways. Now, as you can see, the partition is only 8GB, whereas my microSD card is 32GB. This is where we need to go back to the Retroarch folder and open up the second important thing, which is Disk Genius, to fix this error. If you do use an 8GB card, you won't need to do this, but anything higher, you will need to use Disk Genius to resize it. It cannot be done in Windows Disk Management. Once Disk Genius opens, you'll see a list of drives on the left side of the window. You'll see your card, but you don't want to go to the card, but rather the partition that's only 8GB, which is marked K on mine. You can double check if it's the right one in this window just at the top. So right click removable disk in the left side and then extend partition. It will show how much the new capacitor will be, which for me is going to be close to 32GB. All you need to do here is click start. And then accept to extend the partition, and this won't take too long. Once it's done, click complete, and now you can close Disk Genius. Go back to this PC and just check to see if it is now the correct capacity, which mine is now certainly 32GB. So that's pretty much all of the big steps that need to be done. I did try to copy the N64 Core from the Bootleg PS5 onto here, but I have a feeling I need a config file or something, as it doesn't work when I try it later on. But from this point on, you just need to come to the ROMs folder on your microSD card and create folders for the different emulators if they aren't here. Copy all your favorite ROMs onto the card, and that's pretty much it. You have successfully flashed Retroarch to the Game Stick Lite. So if all has gone smoothly, it should look a little something like this.
Hello everybody, welcome back to SMOOREZ' room. With the Game Stick loaded up with all of my ROMs on it, it's time to plug it into my TV and test Retroarch out with a whole bunch of ROMs. I actually discovered that there's a whole lot of cores on this that I couldn't even try on the stock firmware, so we're going to just try it today and see how they run. I don't expect them to run good, we'll just see how we go. So this is the first boot once you've copied all your ROMs and you've written the image file to the microSD card. So plug the USB in for power, give it a moment, and you should get a loading screen. There it is. That's how you know you've succeeded. Then you should see blue, and that's it. We're in. There's a lot of stuff you can configure in Retroarch, so if you need to learn any of that, I highly suggest looking up online for guides and stuff on how to change all these configuration settings, because basically I just want to showcase the games with how they run, but you can change performance and all that sort of stuff through the settings menu. There is a lot of settings to change for video, audio, input, everything like that. But if you're here to put Retroarch on a Game Stick Lite, you should already have a rough idea of how Retroarch works. So I'll leave that configuration up to you, but let's just leave it on the absolute stock default settings that were in the firmware, and we'll just see how it goes. We have all the cores to use, which we have Arcade, Atari 2600, 5200, 7800, N64 Plus I did put on here myself because I wasn't too sure if there was a Nintendo 64 one already on here, and it doesn't look like there is. So hopefully that works. We'll have to see if Nintendo 64 does work. You do have NEC PC Engine, DS, Game Boy Advance, NES, SNES, PlayStation 1, SCUM VM, Dreamcast, Megadrive, Genesis, 32X, CD, Sega Saturn, ZX Spectrum if you wanted to, and Sony PlayStation. So you have so many options here. You can just go straight to scanning your directory for all of the ROMs, or you can come back to File Browser and go to Load Content, go to your ROMs folder, and here is all my ROMs. So if I just go to Atari, I'll have ET just here. You can choose what to use. I'll just use that one, and there you go. It looks so much better than how it was on the stock firmware. The stock firmware looked absolutely horrific. Okay, it's Atari 2600. Of course it's going to run perfectly fine. But if you're curious from how it ran beforehand to now how it runs, a lot better. And if you want to go to the quick menu, just press start and select on your controller and you'll get this menu where you can just go through all of this stuff, change the core options if you want to, change the controls if you're not happy with the control scheme, even cheats. If you wanted to stuff around with them, you absolutely can. I'll close this, and what I want to do, just quickly, I'm going to disconnect this controller. I've just plugged an Xbox One controller into the Game Stick Lite. Let's go to the next one. So what have I got in here? There was actually a PSP core file on the micro SD card, but I don't think it's worked. Let's try Sonic CD. Now I'm fairly sure you just go to the Q file, wherever that is, and that should play everything. We want to choose Genesis Plus GX, and there it is. I haven't used Sega CD Emulation in so long. There you go. What just happened? My controller is definitely not mapped correctly. Oh my lord, this is so 90s. The 90s wants me back. I'm just going to plug the default controllers back in, but you can use an Xbox One controller if you wanted to. Just demonstrating that you do have the option available. You just have to stuff around with the controller mapping and stuff. You've also got an FPS counter at the top. You can switch that off if you want to, but I'm going to just leave it on just so you see what frame rates we do get. And okay, we got some slowdown happening. Just a little bit. But hey, it works. So if I came to the core options, that's where I can then stuff around with all of this stuff to possibly get it working a little bit better, which I'll leave that completely up to you. As I said, this is more of a showcase to demonstrate the capabilities with the stock firmware.
I've just tried the Drive emulator to see if it runs any better, and it does actually run slightly better. I'd highly recommend just using Drive, don't use the Genesis GX Plus. It's not perfect by any means, but it's more than playable.
Arcade's up next, and I've got Aliens here as well. And I guess we just use MAME 2003? That should be fine, shouldn't it? Now, remember how it ran on stock firmware? I can't move. Let's do MAME 2016. That sounds better. Oh, there we go. Almost perfect. A lot better than what stock was. But go back and watch the original version of when I played Aliens, just to compare it. Go back to content, we've got Dreamcast up next. Now, I don't expect too much from this. I do have Crazy Taxi, Rez, and Virtua Tennis on here. As I said, not expecting too much, but let's give it a crack anyways. Remember, the Game Stick Lite only has 128 megs of RAM and a dual-core CPU in it. It is bottom of the barrel hardware in this thing, but hey, it runs. The fact that it runs, man, it's a technical achievement that Dreamcast runs on a $30 thing. Not that it's gonna run fantastic though, but just go along with it, I suppose. Oh, it's frozen. I actually did break it. Okay, Dreamcast might be a little bit too powerful for this. Oh god, the Game Stick is boiling. You might want to mod and put a heatsink in there, perhaps. I did see a picture of someone actually putting a heatsink in there. Might be a good option, I think. I will actually go back to Dreamcast. I'm not going to let it win that easy. I'm going to try Virtua Tennis. And all the games are also in the correct aspect ratio as well with Retroarch. It automatically does all that for you. So much more freedom and configuration that you can do with Retroarch from the bone stock firmware. It's just, yeah. Here is Dreamcast. Hey, you know, oh, I broke it again. Oh, no, I didn't break it. Oh, maybe I did break it. I probably did break it. Realistically, it's not going to work anyways, alright. I think out of all the ROMs, Dreamcast is the most powerful I've put on here. Give it effort for trying. Back to content. What have we got next? We've got DS up next. So yes, it's got a Nintendo DS emulator on here. And I'm quite interested to see how it runs. Here it is. Oh, that was sound. Okay, okay. We're at 18 frames a second in DS. I honestly did think DS would have worked a little better than this. If you were to get this working smoothly, yeah, what would you do about touch controls? And thus, DS, man. It says 14.3 frames a second. I don't think that's the case. We're getting there. We're getting there. Oh, get ready. I'm getting ready. I'm hanging on the edge of my seat. I just want to go straight into a wall. Well, that's reasonable, I guess. Okay. It tried, okay? It tried. When I seen the DS core in the files, I just thought, let's just try it. Give it a go, see if it works. Game Boy, we've got Pokemon Puzzle Challenge, Pokemon Diamond. I finally put Pokemon Diamond on here because I just want to see it for the first time in so long. But Pokemon Puzzle Challenge, that ran fairly well on stock firmware. But now, number one, it looks impressive. It looks a lot better. It doesn't look fuzzy or anything like that, if that makes sort of sense. Even though, you know, Game Boy is very low resolution, it looks so much more clearer. I think it's actually outputting in 1080p this time around. Bless Retroarch for being something that's actually usable. I can't see anything because, once again, the tripod's in the way, but, you know, you get the idea. I'm happy with that. I don't think I need to show any more with this, so what I will do is play Pokemon Diamond real quickly, because I have not seen it in so long. Would have been, I think, what, 2005 or 2000? Oh my god. Yes, I remember this. Holy moly. The phone, yes! Oh my god, I remember this. Yes! We all thought this was legit Pokemon Diamond. And I tried playing this on my N-Gage back in the day. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. This isn't Pokemon at all. But it looks like it. Oh, electric monsters. Oh, the phone ringing. Oh, 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 uh-oh. Whee! Look, there's a turtle. Well, that's right. You get the phone numbers of the Pokemon. Well, supposed Pokemon. There we go. And thus, Pokemon. Amazing. Nobody didn't call the maid. Ha! Yes! I remember that. Oh my god, I have not seen that in so long. Dude, this is bringing back memories. Wow. I just had my big nostalgic hit right there. That's amazing. Okay, Game Boy is perfect. Game Boy Advance. So, we all know how Doom ran beforehand. Let's try Doom now on Game Boy Advance. Now, you can choose MGBA or GBSP. So, you have the choice of emulators. I'm going to choose GBSP first, see how it runs. If I need to change it to the other emulator, I will. Once again, emulation looks crisp. Perfect. Look at this. Do I need to remind everyone how it ran on stock firmware? Okay, maybe I spoke too soon then. This is perfectly playable. Runs fine, runs perfect. Just as a thing though, I'm going to try MGBA as well with Driver 3, just really quickly. Oh, it actually shows this. Alright. Okay, this core is a little bit laggy. It's laggy with this core. It also sounds horrific. Let me try the other core with Driver 3 then. Let's see if the main menu's a little bit... Oh, that's perfect. Oh. Oh, no, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, so this is with the other core. Just use the first core option. What is next on the list? Megadrive. So I've got Sonic the Hedgehog 2 on here, which I did try on stock firmware. See how it goes now. It should be absolutely perfect. I think that's fine. Ooh. Megadrive is a bit iffy. Could be this core. Let me try the other one. And this is what I mean with Retroarch as well. There's just so many options. Pico Drive should be fine. Pico Drive was on the stock firmware, so I believe now it should be perfect. I said that beforehand, but... Yep. There we go. Megadrive gets a pass from me. Just don't use the other core. Use the second core, pick a drive, and you'll have no issues. So far, we know that 2D works, but let's just keep going through the list because we've got N64 up next, and there's no items in here. So that means that the core option, hang on a second, let's try load core. Okay, no, so unfortunately I can't load my N64 core. It just doesn't kind of want to work. At least I gave it a shot though, but I imagine that N64 would probably be really hit and miss on this. So we'll skip that then and go straight to NES, which I think we all know what's going to happen here. I'll use the first core just to see. Wait, no, Super Mario Brothers is laggy. No, no, wrong core. I think there might be a bit of a frame skip happening. Okay, something just happened then. It's smooth for the most part. Let me try Super Mario Bros. 3 on the second one, just real quickly. Oh, it's smooth now. There we go. Some sort of graphical glitches going on there, but once again, you'll probably just have to come into the core options and stuff around with all of that there. But I've got an NES Classic, so I can just use that for NES Emulation, but I'm sure it would work fine anyways if you just done some configuration. So we'll move on to PlayStation 1. So the first thing I want to do is play driver, and I'm going to use PC SX rearmed. The first time I put custom firmware on this thing, I did try this and I was pleasantly surprised at how it ran, but let me show you how it runs now on Retroarch. When things get hectic, driver does slow down a bit. But here we go. Oh, I always hit that park bench. You might experience a sound glitch here and there, but for the absolute most part, driver plays how it should play. Whee! If I land this, oh, landed it. And I'm dead. Okay, let me try Crash 3.
Entertainment America presents a Universal Interactive Studios production. A Universal Interactive Studios production.
Controls are a little bit iffy, but you can remap them. Look at this. This is absolutely perfect. I'm really happy with this. And yeah, I just come down to the controls and then just change what they are. So let me just see if that fixed it. Oops. if you do happen to quit RetroArch and this does happen, unplug the USB from power for a little bit, just leave it, and then plug it straight back in, and it should be fine. I'm just curious to see how Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 runs. Whee! I mean, it's playable. Okay. Yeah, like, for the most part, this is absolutely playable. And also, the input lag from the stock firmware appears to be gone with these controls as well. Good, grand, wonderful. Alrighty, so that is PS1. We do have PSP here, but I don't think it'll work. No, it won't. There was a PSP core file, but yeah, it's not going to work, unfortunately. We'll try Doom on the Sega Saturn. Curious to see how it will go. I have not played the port of Doom on the Saturn. I don't know how this will run. As a backup, I've got Need for Speed anyways. Okay. Oh, the French champagne has always been celebrated for its excellence. It is a California champagne by Paul Masson, inspired by the same French excellence. It's fermented and bottled, and like the best champagne, it's vintage dated. Well, something's happening. Tell you what, let's try... What was the other game that I put on here? Need for Speed. No. We have a frame. 7.4 frames a second. Oh, okay. Saturn's a no-go on this. But at least PlayStation 1's fine. Game Boy Advance and PlayStation are the biggest improvements. Let's try 32X Doom. Now, when I did try this originally, it didn't work. In saying that, it doesn't show any of the graphics. It shows the user interface, but doesn't show any 3D graphics, which is exactly what's happening now. Wait? Yeah, no, it should be showing graphics. 32X is really buggy as it is. I'll try another game. Virtua Fighter should work, shouldn't it? There's no graphics. Okay. Aha! See, just by changing the core options, now I should be able to play Doom 32X on this. There you go. It's not loud enough. You can't hear the fart music. Look at this. 32X, man. Oh, the button? Oh, yeah, the buttons are fine. So now you can play all 43 of the released 32X games on this if you want. It's just super strange how this runs perfectly fine, but NES was a little bit iffy. But as I said, go to the core options, change what you need to change, and you should have no issues. The last thing we've got is SNES, which I guess we'll try Doom again. Now you've got 4 options for SNES. What I know to work the best is SNES 9X. I don't know why there's 3 here. They're all current. So I'm just going to choose this one, and we'll see if there's any graphical glitches like on the stock firmware, or if it's perfect. I know I've showcased Doom like 20 times throughout this video, but it's one of my favorite games. Okay. Should we blame the Super FX chip? The buttons definitely need to be remapped. Okay, I'm going to try another emulator for that. Let's try Beetle to see if that works better. Oh no, this is worse. Nope, that's not going to happen. Okay. Hey, it's fixed! It's slow though, but this one. I'll choose the in-between one. Yeah. You're better off playing the 32X port of this, I think. Or the Game Boy Advance port. Either one is fine. I will now try Donkey Kong Country. Okay. I believe that is perfect. Oh, bit of slowdown here and there. But it's playable. I'll try Beetle, actually. Don't use Beetle. It runs like a Beetle. There's no core options available either. Yeah, no, don't use Beetle. That's just terrible. Okay. And then finally, Tetris Attack on SNES 9X. This emulator's fine. So yeah, you just gotta choose whichever SNES emulator's in there. There you go, that's how fast you gotta be. Speedrunners are faster though. I haven't shown everything within Retroarch because there's just so much to go through, but it gives you now an option. If you have this Game Stick Lite just sitting there doing nothing, you now have access to this, which I've done the tutorial for. You just follow that along and you'll be able to have Retroarch on your Game Stick Lite. You have so many more emulators and cores to choose from. It's just all about configuring things and trying things until you get the games running perfectly. Granted, this is not going to run games perfectly. Some things are going to push this thing to its limits. It's really low-end hardware, but whatever it can play, it does play fairly well. I'm more happy with PlayStation 1 and Game Boy Advance emulation overall. Definitely give this a try on your Game Stick Lite. Make sure it's running the same rock chip processor in it as well. Just crack it open and make sure. And if it is, then flash Retroarch to a microSD card. Try it out and see if there is specific configs for the cores that you need to set that might help others get better performance out of it and stuff. It's a good little project. If you've got this just sitting around gathering dust and now it has a new lease of life with Retroarch, ported by, I don't remember the member's name of 4PDA, so thanks to them for doing all of the work for us, and now it's out there for everyone to enjoy. This has been part 2 of looking at the cheapo Game Stick Lite. I hope you've all enjoyed seeing what this thing can do. Yeah, if you own one of these and have tried the custom firmware on it, please let me know down in the comments how it's gone for you, and if you found the perfect configuration for other ROMs, if you can get other cores working. Just feel free to put updates in the comments below and I'll check them out. And I hope the tutorial was clear enough. I tried to make it as clear as I can. If there's any issues with the tutorial, feel free to contact me and I'll help you through it. Otherwise, everyone, thank you so much for watching once again. I really do appreciate it. And as always, take care, stay safe, be good people, and I'll see you all in the next video, which will be looking at something and not a follow-up this time around. But I just wanted to get this one done because people requested it and I have delivered. So until the next time I see everyone, please take care, and I'll see you all in the next one.
If you like this content, feel free to leave a like or a dislike if you didn't. Thanks heaps for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.